Grew up, seeing them work on different cartoons and TV shows and all sorts of stuff. So I was lucky enough to be kind of around and happen to be at the right place at the right time to get an audition for a show called Dot Hack Sign Legend of the Twilight Bracelet. Do you guys remember that show?
What?
So I played Shugo in that show. And that was my very first lead in an anime. And I think of that show as me as a kid, playing a kid, cosplaying one of my characters actually. Stand up. This would be an awesome way to do it. Yes, this is perfect. Okay, so guys, yeah, give him a hand. Yes. Meliodas, Nagito, and Rin are outnumbered by Kirito. It's 3-on-3. So yeah, you guys look great. So yeah, you might know me as Kirito from Sword Art Online, Rin Okumura, Nagito from Danganronpa, and Naegi. I get to talk to myself in the last episode. It's amazing. Who has seen the Danganronpa anime?
Yeah.
Okay, who's seen the latest season, Danganronpa 3? Who's watched all the way to the very end? Okay, for you people that are left, did you catch the blooper that I snuck in there at the very end? Okay, so you guys, who has no idea what Danganronpa is? Sweet, awesome. I'll explain it like it's kind of a long sort of arc, but I'll explain basically what it is. So in season 1, there's all these kids with super high school level something. There's an expert biker. There's an expert swimmer. There's all these different, an expert chef. And they go into this school, and this insane mechanical bear locks them in the school, normal, and says they have to murder each other and get away with it to get out of the school alive.
Good Lord.
Yeah, took a dark turn. You weren't expecting that. So my character in season 1, his name's Naegi, and he is the detective in the video game. So it was so cool working on the game, because when we go in to work on these things, we have no idea what we're going to do that day. So it's like a murder mystery. So when I was going through all the different clues, it was like I was imagining all those clues in my mind. So it was like I was watching a movie in my head. It was really fun. And they made an so there's multiple games. I think there's 4 or 5 games now. I know there's a third one out, but there's Ultra Despair Girls. So 4 games. And there's an anime where I play 2 different characters. One is very nice and one is very crazy. And at the very end, they happen to meet each other. And I threw this blooper in there. And it was a simuldub with Funimation. And the day it came out, they sent this press release out apologizing, saying, "We are so sorry. There was a blooper that snuck by. We didn't catch it, but we fixed it." I'm like, "Oh, they caught me." Oh. But it was someone else's blooper, and mine made it all the way to the Blu-ray. So, I'll tell you what it is, and then you'll have to go and watch it later. Mm-hmm. So as Nagito, they reach out and he grabs Naegi's hands and he goes, "His hands are so soft." And as Naegi, I go, "Why was he sticky?" And he made it all the way to the Blu-ray.
Oh my
Yes, got him! So I love doing bloopers. There were only a few people here, but was anyone in my efforts and reactions panel yesterday? Okay, sweet. So I had what I call bad anime reactions. And what those are is you wait for something very subtle, like your character's eyes to move, and they're expecting a breath like this. And then I give them this. And they have there's an engineer in there that will adjust based on how loud you are. So they're expecting a real soft that. And when they get the room just shakes. So I try try to surprise the director with either a bad anime reaction or like a really disgusting blooper. Like I do it all the time. In Sword Art Online, I said the worst things I could think of as Kirito, and I'm like, no one will ever see these bloopers. And at Anime Expo, the year we did a panel, they showed all the bloopers and they snuck through. There was like 1,000 people in the audience, and Kirito said the worst things ever. And I think someone was recording, and they're on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't watch them. I mean, it's really, really nasty stuff. Go look it up. You really shouldn't. You shouldn't see it. Look it up right now. It's on YouTube. But yeah, they're great. So I started doing conventions a few years ago, and these things are really, really fun. I never imagined that this would kind of exist for me, because they weren't like this for my dad, so I never watched him sort of travel around and meet people. But it's a surreal experience for voice actors especially. Because when we work, especially on anime, we're in a soundproof room by ourselves, just talking. And you don't even like imagine that people are really gonna see your work or hear your work. Thank you so much. Like, right now, if I say something funny, you guys laugh. There we go. Like that, it's great. I get that satisfaction right away. But when I'm in the booth, if I say something funny, I just get the director going, yeah, that was great, moving on. That's all you did. You don't expect to sort of get that feedback. So these conventions, especially for voice actors, are like our applause. So yeah, thank you guys so much for all the support. So yeah, looking forward to your questions.
No wonder you guys got
wanna-
pictures of them
what do you wanna
yesterday.
talk
I'm Dells now.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, one of your most popular, one of your biggest roles was playing Red in Pokemon Origins.
Yeah.
What was it like to realize that you had been cast as the face of the biggest franchise in the world?
I mean, surreal. Like, I grew up playing Pokemon Red. I picked Charmander.
Yes.
It was almost like fate. Like, when Pokemon normally records in New York. So I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to even get an opportunity to read for that series, because I live in Los Angeles. And you kind of have to be near the work, because you audition, then you go into the studio. There's a team of people sometimes, a director, an engineer, producers, and you have to be there to do it for the majority of the work. So I never thought I'd get the opportunity to even audition. And when Origins came out, they just wanted a totally different sound. They wanted it to be almost like a different world of Pokemon. So they brought it to LA, and the auditions came out, and I saw that character, and I'm like, wait a second, I think I know what's gonna happen in this. And I found it online in Japanese, and I binged the whole series. It's really quick. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this before, because it kind of follows the Game Boy game. So when I was cast, I mean, it was just a dream job. And I feel like auditions are buying lottery tickets. And you just never know, like, you just have to buy a ticket to even have the chance of winning. So I feel like that was a time I hit the anime lottery. Like, I'm sure everyone in town was rooting for that part, and I just felt super fortunate to kind of fall into it. So yeah, dream come true. Gotta love it. Rin.
Do you play Pokemon Go, and if you do, which team are you on?
So I haven't gotten into Pokemon Go. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, come on. I just feel like I would be too obsessive with it. And I know people that are like, everywhere they go, they have to go out and catch Pokemon. Yeah, I never like dove into it, because with games like that and RPGs, because I grew up playing a lot of RPGs, I want to complete everything, and I know that if I start it, like, I won't stop playing. So yeah, that'd be a dangerous, dangerous game to play for me. Yeah.
What was your favorite character to voice in Danganronpa, and why?
Well, I have two choices. So they each had their things that were fun. Like I said before, Naegi, it was like he's the detective. He's in the middle of things. You know, he's a great character to play because you get the full story. Versus someone who comes in and they might be a cool character and then they die. Like you don't get all of that. But with Naegi, you know, I had a feeling he'd be okay for a while. Nagito, on the other hand, is insane. And I felt like I was the Joker. Nagito, for you guys that don't know, he has an amazing laugh, which I was so looking forward to doing because I'd heard rumors like, oh, this character has a crazy laugh. And they wanted it to be like, I don't know, kind of like airy and gravelly, and I guess I'm gonna have to do it for you guys.
Yes.
Might as well. It's always fun to laugh like Nagito. So it sounds a little something like this. It's fun. It's always a good day to go and be crazy. Thank you. Don't think I can mention this, but look out for an announcement very soon. There's a character that, how much can I tell you guys? So we signed these things called an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And that is basically a contract that says, if you say the wrong thing, we will sue you.
Oh,
Yeah. So I always have to be so careful about what I can and can't say.
Be as
so
sweet as possible.
I'll say as much as possible. There's a game coming out very soon, and I play another crazy character with a crazy laugh. And I got to do all these like different kinds of laugh, like from like that kind of range to like little short like chuckle, like really fun. It's like mad scientist almost. I think it comes out in January, so good on you if you figure it out. Pikachu.
Can you do something in Rin Okumura's voice?
Do you have a favorite line, or do you want to know my favorite line?
Your favorite line.
So, sorry for cussing. Rin has a dirty mouth. He's the son of Satan. Who's seen Blue Exorcist?
Woo!
Awesome. Who's seen Blue Exorcist season 2?
Almost done.
It's so good. It was like a present to come back and play Rin again. Every time I work as a voice actor, I kind of leave the booth with something from my characters. And when I play as Rin, I leave with a huge smile on my face. Like, he's just a fun character to play. But the moment that, like, I just fell in love with that character is this one. He goes, I'm gonna beat the shit out of Satan!
Yes.
Yay! First word in. It wasn't me, it was Rin. Sorry, guys.
Yesterday you said that you were like in traffic you would be like another character, like Aaron or Rin.
Yeah.
What would they say in traffic?
Well, I think the character that would probably fit most into LA traffic is Eren Yeager. Who's seen Attack on Titan?
Yes.
Awesome. So Eren is just angry. That's my motivation, angry. And I think I use traffic as sort of to pull that anger, but I also use something that has happened to me in my own life. And if this has happened to you, you'll know the anger that I felt in these moments. So this is what's gonna happen, by the way. You're gonna ask a question, I'm gonna talk about something totally different.
Go back.
Okay, so I have 2 dogs. They're little white fluff ball poodles, Maltese poodles. And I had this bag of chips waiting for me at home, and those dogs ate my chips. And I used the anger I felt in that moment to become Eren Yeager. So this is my normal Eren Yeager in traffic. I'm gonna kill you. Just looking at the car next to me. And then just Titan like Yes.
That's what made junior high so good. It was just so over the top.
Yeah, who's seen Attack on Titan Junior High?
Oh no.
Awesome. So we called it Attack on Titan Muppet Babies. It's really fun. So it's played, actually, in Attack on Titan Junior High, I lost my voice. So
I gotta go.
Aaron screams
Make a lot of my friends
really,
jealous.
really loud, and Attack on Titan Junior High just takes all the characters and like makes them go even broader and bigger. So of course, Aaron is like louder and angrier. So there's moments where I'm just full on Titan screaming, Titan screaming, and I lost my voice in Attack on Titan Junior High.
Oh.
It was like, as I was recording, my voice just cut. It was like, and Mike McFarlane, the director, was like, "Yep, you're done." Okay, that's it. But Titan Junior High was really, really fun to record. On top of playing Aaron bigger, I also got to do like very cartoony things. Like, there's a dodgeball episode, and Aaron gets hit in the face and like spins around in circles, and I got to do like. Didn't think I would do that as Aaron. That was so funny. Okay, I'm gonna keep working my way like this way. So yeah, I'll go 1, 2.
Oh, what was the most embarrassing thing you said in your career?
You know, I don't really get too embarrassed, and I feel like people at conventions always try to get me to say really ridiculous things, and I love it. So, I'll tell you a great shipping story, because we haven't talked about this yet. And while we're on the subject of Attack on Titan. So I was at this convention, and it was in Australia, and this girl comes up to my autograph line and says, "Can you say a line for me?" I'm like, "Of course, what would you like me to say?" And she says, it says, "Aaron, can you say Levi looks dead sexy in a miniskirt?"
Oh my god!
So I look her straight in the eye and I say, "Levi looks dead sexy in a miniskirt."
Should record that.
And now I say it all the time. It's made its way around the world.
Oh great. And it will continue.
I don't know. You guys will have to come up with another way of embarrassing me. Good luck.
Can you say your favorite line as Masaru Mikita from Durarara?
Sure. Who's seen Durarara?
Kind of, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I play Masaru Mikita, who's the, I refer to him as the ladies' man. There's a couple really amazing lines, but my favorite as Masaomi is, "Live by the boobie, die by the boobie." I did a panel with the Japanese voice actor for Mikado, and there was a phrase in Durarara that Masaomi says in reference to Henri. Yeah. And the translation was, "Henri's so bootylicious." And we looked at that, the director and the producer, they looked at that line and they're like, "Well, Henri's not really bootylicious. She's more boobylicious." So it changed to, "Henri's so boobylicious, so sexy cute." And I told the Japanese actor, that's what I said, and I said, "How do you say boobylicious in Japanese?" "I'd love to know." "And this is how you say it. Boing." You're welcome. We all learned something today.
Oh my god.
That's all the Japanese I know, by the way. Yes, Kirito.
I want to hear a line of Kirito from Sword Art Online.
Do you have a favorite line?
Yes.
What's your favorite line?
Something that has to do with Asuna.
I was actually about to just ask him
He
the
talks
same
about
exact shit.
Asuna a lot.
Literally.
Oh man.
I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I want to hear him say something with Asuna.
So here's the thing about
It's real
pulling lines
surreal.
out of nowhere. When we work, we see the script for the first time that day. And as I'm performing these lines, I'm watching the show and I try to live in the moment of my characters as much as possible. And sometimes I go into work and I'm there for, 2, 3, 4 hours, sometimes longer. And I leave and I'm like, what did I just do? Because I'm so in the moment and in those characters. So if you want to pull up a line and give me a script, I'll perform it for you. Do you want to do that? You can like find a line online and write it down on your phone, and then I'll use it as a script. I mean, the lines that come to my mind of Kirito is like the classic, this one you've probably heard a million times. Link start! My favorite line is Kirito. Who's seen Gun Gale online? Awesome. Yes. So, for you guys who have not, Kirito is a bit more feminine in season 2.
I love that.
Which was like a dream come true for me because I used to prank call my female friends in middle school as their female friends. So there's a moment where Kirito is full on in, girly Kirito mode, and he walks into this room of grungy gamers, and they're all sitting there staring at him, and he goes, "Hey guys, hope y'all root for me!" He sparkles behind him, and it's wonderful. And there's a million outtakes of that line. So if you come up with a line that's directed at Asuna, and you want to tell me, just raise your hand again, and I'll have you come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give me your favorite line from Seven Deadly Sins against Bond?
Ooh.
Like fighting Bond? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, he's
with
Meliodas
Bond
too,
is
isn't he?
I was just telling them as you guys were coming into the
Yeah,
room,
he's probably my favorite
I was
voice
at a
actor then.
convention, and
Holy
sometimes
shit.
I'll sneak into the game room if they have Super Smash Brothers for N64.
Yeah.
Because I'm decent at Smash for 64. With the new controller, I'm terrible. What? What was that? Oh, Pikachu. Of course. I'm so good. I cheese with Pikachu all the time. So I was in the game room playing that, and this Bond cosplayer, perfectly dressed Bond, walks in, and I see him and I just go, Bond! He just like looks over like it's a dark room. He had no idea I was sitting there, like who I was.
He's like,
He didn't say anything. He just walked in and he's like, okay. And then he found out later and he gave me a high five. So I think that's my favorite moment with Bond. But my favorite moment as Meliodas, who's seen Seven Deadly Sins? Yay! So if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's such a good show. I play a couple characters in that show. If you guys didn't know, do you know the other character I play? Yes. So I play Meliodas, who's this short, blonde, 5,000-year-old pervert. He's a great character. And there's this one moment where he's with another character named Elizabeth. We have a great cosplayer right here. And she says something along the lines of this is hurting or something like that. And in the Japanese, he goes very close to her and he says very clearly, "This'll make it better." And in my version, I saw that he was under her skirt. So I did it like this. "This'll make it better." And that's the one they used. Chris Mason was the director of Seven Deadly Sins, and we would record each line until we were both laughing so hard that we were crying, and then we would move on.
Nice.
Meliodas is such a fun character, and I really got the hang of it. Another technique that I do, and I don't know if everyone else does this, is I have to make the faces, there's a certain facial expression that my characters make. So the one for Meliodas is I have to raise my eyebrows so high that it stretches out my vocal cords. That's Meliodas. So once I raise my eyebrows, because his eyebrows are always up like this, then I got Meliodas' voice. So I'll tell you about Love Helm. So for you guys that don't know, Love Helm is there's this arc where they're fighting in this tournament, and there's a referee, and he's about a foot tall, a little red sheet with a giant mouth and squiggly white arms, and his name is Love Helm. He's the most annoying character in the show. So I binged the show because I love it. And I came across that character and he's so annoying. So of course I had to try to copy his voice. And I thought, oh, I can get really close to this character. So I was in the studio and I walked by the casting director and one of the producers and I said, hey, can I audition for another character in Seven Deadly Sins? And she's like, what, you play Meliodas, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, trust me, it'll be funny. Can I just send you an audition? And she's like, yeah, whatever, Bryce. So I go home and I practice. And I was practicing quite a bit and my wife was very pregnant at the time.
Oh yeah.
At one point, I was practicing so much, she busts in and goes, if you do that voice one more time, I'm having this baby now. So here's what Lovehound sounds like, and I have to move the microphone like so far away from me because he has no volume control. Whether he's like this close to someone or like all the way far away, he's the same volume. Here's what he sounds like.
Oh my god.
Okay, now I know who he was playing as.
Yes, most annoying character in the show. I love it. Yeah, right there. Go 1, 2.
Has there ever been a type of character you've always wanted to play?
A type of character I've always wanted to play? Yeah, I mean, I'd love to play a character like SpongeBob SquarePants. Just something ridiculous. I think that would be so fun. I met Tom Kenny, the voice actor who does SpongeBob, and I'm a big SpongeBob fan. I love that show. And I was at a convention, actually in Dallas, so not too far, and I was in the green room, and my daughter was pretty young at the time, and she was eating some cucumbers, and he comes up to her and says, "Are those sea cucumbers?" Ah! And I was just like, and I had to like hold in the fanboy moment. You're supposed to be kind of professional, like in those green rooms, and I was just like, SpongeBob. Hold it back. But I would love to play a character like that. And you never know, I've auditioned for Cartoon Network and Disney and all sorts of things. And I've come close, but fingers crossed, I'll just keep buying lotto tickets. Yeah, you had a question, right?
Okay, back on the topic of the bad scientist voices, like.
Yes.
So what's your, I kind of saw it most when you were talking about Meliodas, but what's your mindset when you're voicing characters like Henry from Fire Emblem Awakening?
Yeah, who knows of Henry from Fire Emblem Awakening? Another insane character. So I'll give you an idea of what it was like playing Henry. First off, they used code names for Fire Emblem. So I had no idea what game I was working on. I just knew it was a video game. And I walk into the studio and they give me a picture of Henry. And he's wearing this cloak and he has his hand up and there's a crow in his hand and he's smiling and his eyes are closed. Which all my characters in Fire Emblem have their eyes closed.
Oscar, Kamui. I'm like,
it's my typecast. They figured it out. Just put him as all the characters with their eyes closed. So, what? Which one?
And Raven.
They all have their eyes closed.
No,
Wait.
Corel and Raven are eyes open.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You're right. I forgot.
So they casted me against the typecast that time. I play a lot of people in Fire Emblem. I think like 6 characters now, 7 characters. And it's awesome. Okay, had to move away from the eyes closed characters at one point. Anyways, they give me this picture of Henry. He's smiling, holding a crow, and that's all I knew about him. So I go into the booth, and the director that day was Patrick Seitz, another great voice actor. And he goes, "Okay, Bryce, let's come up with a voice for this character." And the first line was, "Yay, blood." So he's like, "All right, let's try this out."
Hey,
so
how
I go,
long is this?
"Yay, blood!" And he
It's a
goes,
video game, much different video
No,
game.
it's an hour.
"Not quite right."
He said
He's
I'm
more
wrong.
excited about this.
No.
Yay, blood! Let's multiply that times like 100. Yay, blood! And that's Henry. He's like evil Elmo.
Oh my god.
So I had no idea how insane he was gonna be. But yeah, he's super crazy. And I think as I played him more, I just drove him more towards the Elmo voice, because I just want him to be Elmo. Yeah. Sure. So we had a panel yesterday called How to Get Into the Industry. And it's really interesting because all the other guests were on the panel, and every single person talked about how they got into the industry, and every single person had a different answer. So what I tell people is there's not one answer of how to get into the industry, of how to break in. You just kind of have to do it and create your own path. Some things that are kind of common, put together a great voice demo. Something that you're proud of. Record something and then share it with some friends that you trust and get feedback, and then make it better. And then share it again, and then make it better. And then when you're done, you have like a minute to 90 seconds of the voice actor that you want to portray yourself as. And it's almost like your business card as a voice actor. And you can use that voice demo to approach different companies. I don't know if do you live in Austin? So you'd want to play to the Austin market. And I don't really know the Austin market. I'm sure that there's agents out here, so you can attempt to get a voice agent using that. And those voice agents are going to get you auditions. And then, you know my opinion on auditions, it's like buying lotto tickets. I compare it to also like playing darts blindfolded. And literally you have to hit the bullseye to get cast, because everyone is auditioning for each role, right? For all these different parts. And they can only cast one person. So if you're second, you don't have a job. And even when you do get cast, these shows go on for a certain amount of time. Sometimes you play a character that dies in the first episode, and that's it. You are unemployed. So it's interesting. You go through this, this high of getting this work, and then you have no work, and then you audition again. Actually, most of the work is auditioning. That's the toughest part. So I would say start with putting together a voice demo and try to get any experience that you can. That's my favorite moment, because I never imagined Ikkicon yelling that, but in that moment, he would do that. Like, that is something so appropriate and perfect, and I thought it was going to be a great line, and I got to scream that. So it was great. It was great. That's my favorite line from the show. Yes?
So, I do a bit of theater, and one of the things that I was curious about was kind of wanting to get into voice acting, and so one of the things that I was curious about is what are some of the differences between like live, obviously other than, Fox, but other than that, what are some of the differences between live theater and voice acting?
Well, I can talk about my experience, and I'll give you my entire theater background. My mom was in a production of Wizard of Oz. She played Glenda the Good Witch, and I was 3, and I played a munchkin with a flower on my head.
Aww.
And that's it. I'm not a theater guy. You don't have to be a theater
I wonder if it was a movie or like a play. I guess the
or girl to be a voice actor. But it definitely helps. The panel that we did last night, a lot of people talked about their background in theater and how it helps them kind of separate their own feelings from the feelings of their characters and things like that. But one thing that's really apparent is you're not in front of an audience. Like, you're just in a room by yourself. So if you mess up, no big deal. They just delete it and you do it again. So that kind of pressure isn't on you in the same way. There is pressure to perform and work right, because sometimes it's not just you and a director and an engineer. Sometimes it's like a producer from the show, or 5 producers from the show and a patch to Japan to a room of people that are all listening to you. And there's a lot of pressure to do things right. I also do something called Wallah. Do you guys know what that is? Okay, so Wallah is creating background noise in TV shows or movies. So if you listen really quick, that sounds like a convention. right? But if someone was filming me, they couldn't capture that same sound of a convention in the background. And for you guys to believe that I'm sitting here on a panel at a convention, you would want to hear that background noise. It kind of brings it together and sells things. So what they do to create that is bring a bunch of voice actors into a room and we create that noise. So I've worked on things like Gotham. I've done a bunch of shows for Disney. Who's seen It? Yeah! Awesome, great, as I knock my water over. So I did some work on It. I'm a bunch of people in the town. I also touched up Pennywise's voice. So he sounds so gnarly, and it's so cool to be even a tiny piece of that character. So here's what I did for Pennywise. And we did a bunch of different experimenting. But it was myself and another actor named Fred Tatasciore, who plays the Hulk, who has like the opposite sounding voice of me. Like he does this deep, like gravelly, awesome noise. And I would do this like high pitch, like rah! As he would like do this low pitch sound, and they put them together. And there's a couple moments in the movie that they just took a tiny snippet of that and popped it in, and it just makes it terrifying. So that's part of what I do also. And when you do those kind of sessions, you're in front of a bunch of actors and a room of people, and you're in this giant theater with a bunch of microphones. And sometimes you have to go up to the mic, and you're standing in front of the theater, and you have to match, something really strange. And they bring people like me in because I know how to hit sync really well, because I do a lot of anime. So, like in Gotham, there's a moment where Bruce Wayne was just running, and I did all his running reactions, like this. That's it, great, all right. So if I do those jobs well, you would never know that I'm part of the movie. That's my goal, is to make it sound like it's that actor. We actually make them sound better. So when you're working on those, similar to stage, you kind of have an audience. But I would say that's a better question for the people with extensive theater background. Yeah. Okay, I'll keep jumping around on this side. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize if somebody asked this before, but I was wondering what your favorite line was from Confessionals. That's right, what you did with your review.
Absolutely, yeah. Who knows what Confessionals is? Sweet. So that was really fun for me because I really focus on voice acting, but I got to be in front of the camera. So Confessionals came about because of interesting things that happened to Shermie at conventions. Shermie Lee plays Asuna, and Lucy in Fairy Tale, and a bunch of other great roles. She's a fantastic actress. And she goes to a lot of conventions, and we've done quite a few together. And people have asked me, like, what's your con horror story? And I just don't have one. But if you ask that to Shermie, she could, like, list off 1,000 things, because random stuff always happens to her. So we were at this convention, and I was supposed to have a panel with her, and she was late. And she comes in kind of a little distraught. And I'm like, Shermie, what happened? And she's like, you're my brother. I'm like, what? Just, from now on, you're my brother. Don't worry, just go with it. I'm like, okay, what happened? She said, I ran into this girl in the hall, and she says, so where's your brother? Why is he not with you? And she starts laughing. She's like, oh, my brother's in Texas. Like, he wouldn't be here at the convention. And she's like, no, your brother, Bryce. And she's like, oh, that's so funny. Bryce isn't my brother. I mean, we play a lot of roles off each other, but he's not my brother. And she goes, yes, he is.
Oh.
And she's like, you know what? I'm mistaken. Yes, he is. Okay, see you later. And she was telling us that story. It's much better when Shermie tells it. And we were dying, we were just cracking up. And Shermie's husband goes, there should be a web series about this. And Shermie and I are like, why don't you write it? And he did. And we threw it on Kickstarter, and we got funded, and we shot it. So we were able to shoot it both in LA, in Texas, in Dallas, and also at a convention in Sacramento with a live audience. So we shot a show about a con at an actual con. It was really good. And I'm trying to picture my favorite line. There's a moment, and I don't remember the whole sort of speech, but it comes up towards the end of the series, and my character is just in front of an audience giving this sort of impassioned speech. And the first day when I went up and did it, I really felt good about it. Like, I sat in the back, I memorized it, and I got 3 chances to go up and perform this speech, because we were on a very tight shooting schedule. The next day, we came back, and John, who was also the director, Sharon's husband, was like, so about your speech, everything behind you wasn't set up right, so we have to trash all that. And you gotta do it again. And you got 1 shot, because we gotta go. So I had 1 attempt to do this speech again, and fortunately it turned out great. So that's my favorite moment in confessionals. Getting that done and done right. By the way, my character's name is Bryce Papenbrook.
Yes!
Sound familiar? And the only difference between me and Reese is Reese wears a hat, and he's happier and more excited than I am to be at a convention. He's a great character. And the running theme through the entire shoot was, shut up, Reese.
Yep.
They were picking on me the whole time. So if you guys haven't seen Confessionals, the first 2 episodes are on YouTube, and the entire series is on a mobile app called Unlocked. Have you guys heard of Unlocked? Awesome, only a few people. So Unlocked is really sweet. If you guys have an iPhone, you should definitely download it. If you have an Android, sign up for the beta, because that's coming out soon. It's a live streaming app for people who do conventions. And so voice actors, cosplayers, YouTubers, it's really cool. Free to download, all the live streams are free, and you can interact with people and kind of see what they're doing. In fact, I'll probably run a stream from the con later today. So yeah, you guys should check it out. And by the way, I'm the co-founder of that company. Myself and another actor that you might be familiar with, his name is David Vincent. So yeah, he's in Kill la Kill, he's in Fire Emblem, he plays Robin in Fire Emblem. We came up with this concept a few years ago because of conventions like this. And I would go to these cons, and after my social media would just get blown up, like, hey, they didn't let me in your panel, or I missed your autograph, or I just had 1 question and you talked too much and you didn't answer my question, which happens all the time, sorry. So we thought there has to be something to kind of help this, and Unlocked is what we came up with. And we've been working on this for about 2 years, and we came out with a product, which is the iOS app that's out right now, about 3-4 months ago. And we're really excited for next year. It's a ton of people are getting behind it, so there's going to be some really awesome content on there, and really great people on the app. So check it out. Check it out. It's good. Yeah.
I have a line from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure I want you to say.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
JoJo, this is the last of my armor. Take it from me.
Okay. So I'll perform the line, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how I got Caesar as a character, how I got cast as Caesar. I gotta get my bad Italian accent. Yeah, I'm gonna be loud, thank you. Jojo! This is the last of my hamon! Take it from me! So I watch a lot of Family Guy. And there's a moment in Family Guy where Caesar's pretending where Peter is pretending to be Italian, and he uses his bad Italian accent, like and I was watching that episode, and then I got the audition for Caesar, and that's what I did in the audition. And I got cast. Oh, sorry. They're telling me I'm talking too much. Yay! Sorry if I didn't answer your question. questions. I have photos right now, and then I have an autograph session later, and then
I got a free picture.
You can sign up for
like another like VIP thing.
The Premium Plus picture.
High tea later.
downstairs all the way in.
So thank you guys so much. This was super fun.
So you guys got a free photo with him.
Yeah, free photo.